It's a young talent, very similar to Jordan Rossiter, a young player showing enormous potential. Excited to have him. He'll thrive hopefully in the environment, and it's a good addition to the squad. So he has to come in, he has to work hard, as all the players have to do, but we're delighted to have him.
When you say he's a young player, is he somebody that will be pushing for a first team place, or will he be in addition potentially to see how he develops?
He's a young player with lots of qualities, lots of attributes, and if he trains well, which I'm sure he has already, if he trains well and makes the impression, he'll have his chance, and has to be that way. There's no pre-agendas. If a player comes in, works hard, delivers in training, they'll get their chance. So it's a tight squad. Don't forget we lost 8 players last year, so we've got 9 in now with 1 more, maybe 1 or 2 more. We need that bit more strength in depth, but it'll still be a clear pathway to the first team.
And in terms of keeping players that were already here, in terms of contract extensions, things are looking good on that front. Can you give us an update?
Yeah, the club have been proactive, which is really important. We did Andy Halliday and Jason Holt, etc. Extended them previously. I think if you think back to Kenny Miller as well, extended Kenny's in, and now in terms of Wes and Rob and Waggy, etc., we're making good progress. So there's a lot of work going on, discussions still being had, and everyone asks about contracts at the same time. But the last thing you want as a club is to have all your players up on the same contract dates. That's the worst possible scenario. So there's various discussions at different stages of development, but things are moving nicely.
How difficult is that then? Because you want to reward players that were here and you want to keep good players here. They might see new players coming in and think, well, we want a bit of that as well. Yeah. Is it difficult to find the balance?
That's human nature, but at the same time they have to trust the management. They have to trust us and trust the club that the club will do the right thing, and the club's proven that. As I said right at the start, they've been proactive, and this is good news for the club. The way the communication between the football department with Stuart and with Andrew and the board, of course, has been first class. So if we can keep doing that, we'll be in a good place. But players know if they can trust us, then they're in the right place.
You say trust. How important is that? And do you feel that there's maybe been some mischief making because contracts haven't been agreed yet?
Mischief making outside of here, you mean?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, the media just makes stories. You saw about Tav and Waggy, you saw about my own situation, David's situation. So, why let the truth get away with a good story, so to speak? So, and that's a fact. The players' contract discussions are always at different stages. Agents have a cup of tea and someone and talk about what might happen down the line, etc. So, no, there's been some mischief. The squad's in good shape. They've come back very focused, very committed. We know what we have to do this season. So outside distractions are just that, outside distractions.
When you look at the players that have left, the players that come in, how much stronger do you think your squad is now than it was? So much? We have to.
It's never going to be disrespectful to the players that have left. They did a fantastic job for the club, but we've gone up to the next level, and the expectation is very clear. What we have to do. There's no rash predictions, but we have to be more than competitive. We said it last year, I repeated it this season. So to get the players in that we have is really pleasing. I think we've got a nice balance of maturity, experience, ruggedness, and the young ones, the young talents, the Jordan Rossiters, the Matt Crooks, Josh Windass, etc. So delighted with that, and Joe Dodo, we're delighted with it. So we've made some good work so far. Still 1 or 2 more ideally, but it's not easy. They're not easy.
Sorry, are the League Cup games helping the players gel together, get used to each other, or in a way not as help because you can't change things about as much and give any of them a game?
It's difficult. I made my thoughts clear on it. 4 games in 9 days is far from ideal. But it is what it is. We've got to deal with it. Charleston was great in terms of gelling together and bonding and unity. That's why we went to Charleston. But no, the games are giving us, as I say, the hardest game first doesn't make a lot of sense. But we responded really well. 2 competitive games in now. We're in good shape. Games on Friday, games on Monday. Then we have Burnley, and then we have a week of training. So by the start of August the 6th, the Hamilton game, hopefully everyone's had the right load in, and we're in a good place.
I suppose most people would have been aware of the likes of Nico and Joey and what they're capable of, but most people won't have seen much of Josh Windass, likes of him. He's already really impressed so far. What sort of thing do you think people can expect from him this season?
I think if you look at you saying that, think back to last season, I don't think too many fans had heard of Tav or Waggy, or Rob Keenan or Wes and those type of guys. They hadn't heard of them at all when they came and made the impression. So I think you have to give credit to the scouting department in terms of looking at the young talents. Matt Crooks is probably 2 or 3 weeks away, but Matt's a very talented footballer. Josh has shown his quality, his change of pace, his dynamism in the final third, his cleverness on the ball. So I think you'll see another young player like Joe Dodo, like Jordan Rossiter, pushing really hard. They haven't come here to make up numbers. They're pushing really hard. So I think Josh is a really exciting talent delighted with his progress so far. It's early days. He knows what he has to do, but we know that there's a real player there.
You mentioned you're still after a couple of players, perhaps a striker and a centre back. Do you expect any movement on those deals?
No, there's a lot of work going on, but it's not easy. It's not easy. You look at the market down south, you look at the prices down south, they're going one way, and it's difficult to get it. It's a never smaller talent pool being fished up by more and more clubs with more and more money, and we have to try and do our business under the radar if at all possible, but it's not easy.
Following that news yesterday, the contract extensions bringing Dodo in, perhaps another couple of players on the horizon. Do you think if you could, tie the next couple down to the contract stocks ongoing, that would be the perfect summer for you?
Yeah, I think we've got to say so far it's been an outstanding summer in terms of getting that balance right we referred to earlier. So that's gone really well. But you're looking for that depth, you're looking for that little bit of quality, that spark that you may currently lack. So delighted. I think last night you saw again the players are starting to gel and fitness levels starting to fall into place. But if we can get one or two more, then great. What we won't do is just add numbers for numbers' sake. They've got to add something that we don't currently possess.
In terms of the weight that the guys have in terms of games that they play this season, do you expect not to put quite so much a burden on them as you did last season? I think guys like Wes Flodden played every minute, because you perhaps didn't have the numbers that you do now. Yeah,
there's a case for that, absolutely. But there's also a case that every player wants to play every minute of every game. Players want to play football, but what we have to recognise it's about the group. It's not about any one individual. There's no ego involved. It's about recognising the strength together, and that's what we have to do. Work together. If you're not in the 11, you're not in the 11. If you're not in the 18, so be it. Are you working hard enough on the training pitch? Are you doing everything possible to be the best you can be? If we get that environment, then we'll be in a good place. But I understand what you're saying. Of course, if we can get the intensity of games, the niggles, the injuries, the fatigue, if we have the options and quality options, it looked a bench last night. That was a very, very good bench last night. So if we can have that scenario, then we'll be very pleased.
What about the young guys especially? I mean, is it important that they aren't going to play every minute of every game? Because you think things like burnout and things like that. I mean,
who are the young guys?
I'm talking about Josh. If they're coming in, they're not going to have that weight of expectation on them that they're going to have to come in and play every single game.
No, not every single game. But don't forget, a lot of these boys had long seasons last year, and they've shown their energy levels, they've shown their endurance, their focus and commitment throughout a long season. So they are young, but they've got good experience already. So both Josh and Matt have had seasoned campaigners, so to speak. So we're all right with that. I've got no worries. But if we can rotate slightly more than last year, then so be it.
Lowland League opposition on Friday, East Stirlingshire. Have you got any thoughts on them?
No, it's just another team. It's another team that we have to go to a smaller ground and we have to deliver a performance. It's as simple as that. It's a third competitive game. It's part of the pre-season preparation, but there's no doubt in our mind what we have to do, and we'll prepare appropriately. And we have to do that.
You're 2 games into this format. I know you mentioned it earlier, Alison, but you're 2 games in. Is there any positives that you can see from it? I know you've been sceptical about it, but is there any positives you've found?
I'm sceptical. I've got to be really clear on this. Why? Because the hardest came first, and we're playing 4 games in 9 days. So what that means to us here is that the players won't have a day off for 13 days. It means staff got to bed last night at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. They're back here again at 6:30. So the demands it places is far from ideal. In terms of, could we have played the 4 games over 13, 14 days, for example, would have made it far easier. But now that we're here, the benefits are obvious to us. Now we look at it, the benefits in terms of pitch time, unity, juggling the squad. Can we deal with certain scenarios? Well, then we're being tested early in the season. It's one of the big 3 competitions, so we can't show a lack of respect. But at the same time, it's posed a number of challenges for us.
I guess if you're to have a successful season this season, it means you won't be in the League Cup group stages next season then?
That's got to be our aim. It's got to be our aim, and say no rash predictions, but we know what we have to do this year.
Can we expect to see Joe Dodo playing on Friday?
Joe will play some part on Friday, absolutely, yeah. And we'll look at it. It's a plastic artificial surface, so we'll look at the fatigue and injury levels. We had a few knocks from last night. Look at where we are, but we'll make some more changes undoubtedly on Friday and again on Monday.
How did you think Joey Barton did in his debut?
Delighted for Joey. The reception he got from the crowd was fantastic, but delighted with Jiltsy. He had little to do, but concentration. I thought Lee Hodgson was excellent at the right back. Delighted with Clint Hill and all over the park. Josh coming in all over the park. We had good performances. Nico dictated play for an hour. So really pleased with that. So so far so good, but it's early days.
In terms of team news, you say Matt Cook's a couple of weeks away. Any other injuries?
No, Matt's 2 or 3 weeks away, I'd imagine. hopefully, if all goes well. But other than that, it's just going to rotate the squad. So there'll be another 4 or 5 changes minimum on Friday, and again for the following Monday.
And on a scale of 1 to Alloa, how do you rate this plastic pitch?
I haven't seen it yet. 1 to Alloa, I love that. I'll remember that. 1 to Alloa. I'll let you know on Monday.